Hello, I'm Sue Stockdale, and welcome to episode 136 of the Access to Inspiration podcast, where we dive today into the fast-paced world of esports, exploring what it's like to race online in this ever-growing industry. I'm thrilled to have Mark Fletcher with us today, the founder of Altitude Esports, a sim racing team that's making waves in the competitive gaming scene. For Mark, creating this team was derived from personal loss and a desire to create community. And I also learned from him how the physical and mental demands are more than you might imagine, and why he is passionate about this sport. As always, you can read a transcription of this episode as you listen on our website at accesstoinspiration.org. Welcome to the podcast, Mark. It's lovely to speak to you today. Now, this is the first time I have spoken to an owner of a esports team. Is that how you would describe yourself?
Yeah, so we race online, all from our bedrooms, our living rooms, garages, all that. Yeah, it's definitely something different to your normal guests on the show.
Well, what was the impetus to get this started? Have you always had a passion for racing?
Yes, my dad used to race himself. He used to race Formula Fords back when I was really small. He then went into sidecar racing. Anybody who knows what that is knows that they're a pretty mental bunch. You look at a sidecar and think, I wouldn't want to be on the back of it or inside it. So it's fantastic that Dad did that, and he made a lifelong friend in a guy called Paul Langley. I've been around racetracks since I was a small child. I learned to ride a push bike at a racetrack. So me and my dad, we went into model car racing. So it's like a scaled down version of a real car. And we were successful as a team. Me and Dad, we travelled the country. I've won a couple of national titles. And then I generally can't remember how I found sim racing. But I mean, it's upscaled so massively now, from obviously racing on stuff you can buy it now, Currys, to racing on high performance rigs that blow most of the people's minds of how much money we put into it and how realistic it is these days.
Just describe to the listener then, what is racing in an esports team all about?
There's a couple of ways you can get into esports. Obviously, you can go down to Currys these days and buy a wheel and pedal set for like £150. You can race in the same races that we're in. You can race on different games, different simulators as they call them. Now, it's a massive community around sim racing. There's a huge social media presence about it. I think COVID helped that. It's all about racing at your own budget. You don't have to have a race car, but you can have a virtual race car that when you crash, you just press escape.
Which is a little bit less expensive than putting a proper car, physical car, repaired if you hit something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I don't hurt. I don't hurt after I've had a crash.
So I'm imagining that whether you're doing real life racing on a racetrack or you're doing sim racing, the competitiveness and people that like to be competitive is a key part of what it's all about. Would you say you're quite competitive, Mark?
Yes, we're a good esports team. We have drivers that race alongside Max Verstappen most weekends. They're racing against the best guys in the world. Believe it or not, they're paid professionals. They earn more than I do in my day job racing on a simulator. They're contracted. They have to a certain amount of hours in the sim every week, participate in leagues. They have to develop the car, develop the setup, exactly how the guys would do real racing. We just get unlimited track time in a sense. But yeah, we're competing in the World Championships at the minute. And I think qualifying for 48 cars was split by just over a second.
Oh my goodness, that sounds really competitive there. Now, when you say we, who's the we?
Altitude Esports is the team name. There's a big backstory behind that I'm sure we're going to go into. But at the minute, I think there's 22 drivers across 5 different countries, all walks of life. I've got real racers who race in karts mostly. There's a couple that race in karts. Got a United States FIA Formula 4 driver. Obviously, in the back end of that, we've got real life race engineers, because we have to work out the same in the real world. We have to work out fuel. We have to work out setups. I have a guy called Brian Loynes, who is my race engineer. He's a maths teacher. Fantastic. He works out all my fuel. He races his own cars as well, but for the big races, he's my mechanic. He's like my Bono for Lewis Hamilton. You know, all those sort of people. We have exactly the same infrastructure as you would for a real race team.
Now, I can imagine the listener listening to what you're saying, Mark, and thinking, oh, it doesn't sound that difficult. You're just sitting there turning a wheel and pressing some pedals. You're not exuding any energy like you would do on a real racetrack. But I don't think it is quite like that, is it?
No, it's a different type of physical and mental game. Unless you're at the high end of racing, you'll probably do between 25 and 30-minute races. Potentially in the GT cars, they'll do like 40 minutes an hour. when we do endurance racing, there's a chance that we'll be in the car for 3 to 4 hours. Our sort of systems, they're what's called direct drive wheels. So a computer gives us feedback to the wheels. To put it in perspective, if you had a crash in the force feedback was turned up, is strong enough to break fingers. Like, you have to let go of the wheel if you have an accident, because obviously we don't get the feedback from below the car. We get it just in our hands. So it's kind of enhanced. So we have to enhance those feelings of what we feel through our hands. Obviously, we don't get any feedback through the pedals. Obviously, state-of-the-art headphones is what we need to listen to what the car's doing. Regarding pedals and stuff, I have, and a lot of the guys have, hydraulic pedals. So they're exactly the same pedals as what are in real race cars. Obviously, they're all USB to sort of connect to the computers, but we get the exact same feels as what everybody does in a real car.
Sounds like it's very authentic. And as you say, as close to being in a real car as it can be, even though you're sitting in your bedroom or wherever else you might be doing this. So to give me a sense of where things went from. You were on racetracks with your dad, learning there, then getting into trying out sim racing for yourself. How did you move from realising you enjoyed that to then deciding to become an owner of a team?
I started sim racing back in like 2003 on a different game platform. iRacing got released in 2009. It was going to be this big thing that everybody would go to, all the professionals would use it as training aids. Obviously, we now know that that's exactly what they do, exactly why they use it. And then around sort of 2018, I went, it's getting serious now. You know, it's starting to come to the forefront of people's sort of hearing more about sim racing. It's becoming more of a household thing. Oh, yeah, you've got a simulator. I then signed for a couple of big teams, not as a paid driver as we call it in the real world. And then come 2020, life kind of got turned absolutely upside down. But mum got diagnosed with cancer. I'm a self-confessed mummy's boy. I needed a way to remember her. I needed a way to take myself away from what was going on in life. And obviously around that time there was COVID. So it was a really stressful time and it was hard. Being an only child as well, it depended a lot around people I lived with and stuff. So it was a group of friends. We kind of realised that, you know, COVID was going to be hard. We didn't know how long it was going to be. There was, I'd say, 5 founding members of Altitude. So there's obviously myself, my then partner Kirsty, a lad called Luke, who is one of the race mechanics, and then Jason, who is a guy from the States. We kind of did it because Luke lived alone, worked alone. It was a way for him to speak to his friends and have a meaning to come online. It was so much uncertainty about COVID. And again, Ash lived at home, worked alone. And obviously then there was me trying to deal with the fact that mum was terminally ill. So we kind of set this team up just to like, right, let's make a little team. We'll have our own little bubble kind of thing. It'll keep me protected. When mum was ill, I used to stream on Twitch. So Twitch is like a platform that I'm going to guess some listeners know of. It's a streaming platform that you can showcase what you're doing. I used to stream on that and mum and dad would religiously watch. And it was fantastic because they could see that I was enjoying it. I come to think of it, whether dad knows or mum maybe didn't know that Altitude was to remember her. So we wanted it to be like Altitude, like the clouds, the mountains, all that sort of stuff. We've kind of grown from there, and it's amazing that I look back and every time that the car touches the track, it's like I remember mum. You know, I'm so immensely grateful for everything that mum and dad do for me. Like even to now, me and dad both still mechanic in a Sports 2000 team. We know we're still very, very close, but I aspire to be like those. They're fantastic.
What a lovely way of having something that brings everyone together that you described there in your team for different reasons, but nonetheless, some way of connecting together and finding meaning from racing together as a team.
Yeah, exactly. We all had the same sort of idea of we all wanted to race. And then, it was just one day, I've got no idea where it came from. I can't remember, but it was just like, let's make a team. Let's make a unit. Let's come together in COVID. And then come July, when mum passed away, I was like, right, this isn't a joke anymore. This has to succeed.
With that motivation that you have to make it succeed, have you then recruited other drivers since? And if so, how do you select them?
Yeah, so it's actually quite a funny, kind of a little funny thing. There was always a thing in the team that if you could out-qualify me in a race, I would get you to join Altitude. So one of my now good friends, Tom, sounds pretty silly, who I've met a couple of times, who's raced for me for nearly now 4 years. Yeah, out-qualified me in a race. Next thing you know, I approached him and said, hey, come and join my fake racing team. And we've just grown. We're bringing on the right people. There's people in the team who are soul racers. They love and breathe racing, the same as all of us. They've all got engineering degrees. They're karters. But then I was realizing that we were missing out massively on social media. So one of the guys in the team expressed an interest to learn how to do all the social media. I was like, well, away you go. Have a free go at this. We don't have an audience to start with. Have at it. And now he is the social media guy. He's known as the social media guy. He does all of our social medias. We're on everything. It's fantastic that somebody else comes in, believes in the journey and comes with us.
And it sounds like you're creating that platform for people to be able to do that. And I love what you say about if people are better than you, then you can potentially sign them to the team. There are often leaders in teams, whether they're in sim racing or not, that find it threatening to have people that are better than them. I'm sensing that you thrive on that you want people to be better than you, and then it takes everybody up.
Yeah, for sure. It was arrogant to say, but it's how it was. It was one of those funny things. We're a good team at the minute. We've got people within the sort of top 1,000 rankings of the game, and there's thousands and thousands. I think there was almost 500,000 people registered, and I think there's 4 of us now that sit in that top 1,000. Any publicity that the team gets is all centered back to why we started, and they know that.
It brings meaning to more than just racing in the competition. There's a bigger meaning to it for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think sometimes you have to step back a bit from it's all serious, and it's very competitive. We put a lot of time, we put a lot of effort in, but everybody's lost somebody extremely close to them. If they haven't, it's a fact of life. It will happen. But sometimes I think you've got to come back to the start, if that makes sense.
It does.
And whether it be racing, whether it be whatever, find your way to remember these people, remember to make them still part of your life every day.
That's lovely how you're describing it, Mark. I'm imagining that you have a full-time job, day job, and to help the listener to understand what your life is like, I'm imagining as you've got this day job, then you get to come home, and then it's kind of like spending a period of time every evening practicing, doing races, engaging with the team and so on. What actually happens?
It's pretty close and it's pretty hectic. So yeah, my day job, I'm a external account manager for an IT company. Come to us with IT, like so they need new PCs, we'll go out and spec them, we'll go out and put them all in and stuff like that. So yeah, that's 8:30 till 5:30. 5 o'clock on a Friday, I got half an hour off. Yeah, so at the minute, obviously we're participating in many leagues. I come home, I rush tea as quick as I can, try and eat as healthily as I can. And then we're always talking on our phones, a platform called Discord. It's like a forum that we all use. We post setups in. Obviously the time difference helps between the guys in America, the guys in Turkey, wherever they are. And then, yeah, so for the World Championships, we will potentially put between 8 and 10 hours of practicing a week before an event. We can simulate in the sim everything that the real world will throw at you. So if the race is at night, we can test in the night, we can test in the day, morning, afternoon. We can cycle through the sort of day. They've recently released rain, so adds another aspect to it. So not only have you got to contend with the dry track, you then have to contend with a wet track, which two completely different sort of ball games. But yeah, the guys put in a lot of effort and I'm eternally grateful for what they do. It's amazing.
So you're sharing the data together, you're learning together how to get the best out of the car, I imagine, and have the right setup for any particular track and race. Well, I hope you were enjoying what Mark has to say. And whilst this podcast is free to listen to, it's not free to make. We are a not-for-profit podcast, so if you'd like to support us, then take a moment to click on the Buy Me a Coffee link on the show notes to make a small donation, and we can enjoy a cup of coffee when producing the next episode. Your support really encourages us to continue producing quality audio content for our listeners. Now back to speaking to Mark. When it then comes to the actual race, you said it can be hours at a time. How do you manage to retain your level of concentration for a long period of time?
Very tough with ADHD. Very tough. But you have the same outcome as a real race car. Like if you have a crash, you can't continue. It's not like you hit the wall and you just bounce off it. So there is a kind of danger element, in a weird way of saying it, that I'm still in my living room. I'm not going to get hurt, luckily. When we're racing, we're fully focused on what we're doing. It's difficult. We just kind of zone into our own little zones, really, I think. We're all talking to each other over the radios and sharing driver tips, driver developments. Not everybody's at the same level.
So you can speak to your teammates while you're competing in the car, in the race?
Yes, yeah. So we run live tactics. We've got, obviously, Brian, my engineer, will go in and speak to James. So they'll go in and speak to James, ask what he's doing in the pit stop, and then he'll come back to me and go, right, well, James is doing this. We should try this. So I'm never a believer in team orders. because the series that we race in are broadcasted live on YouTube. I mean, there's upwards of maybe 2,500 people watching these. I always feel that if you do team orders, it kind of dumbs down the sort of racing a bit, and it looks a bit silly from my point. So I just tell my boys, just don't crash into each other. Race as hard as you want, just don't take each other out.
That sounds like a very pragmatic approach to it all. What's been your greatest success so far then, Mark? What are you most proud of?
Mine personally was second in the World Championships back in 2019, I think it was. We call them special events. Your Daytona 24 hours, your Spa 24 hours. We replicate them in the simulator maybe the week before. There's up to and above sort of 10,000 racers, 6,500 teams that participate in these events. We did Spa 24 hours a couple of weeks ago, and there was nearly 10,000 active people racing. And we've won many of those in our own little splits. So what they do is they take you have a thing called iRacing, which is kind of like a ranking system. So the best drivers in the world are high up in the ranking systems. And what they do, they put the top X amount into a race and then sort of filter their way down. And we now, as a team, make the highest split that you can. So like I said, we're racing against the Verstappens and, all of that. And for our boys to take on the people that are full-time, it's fantastic to see. And just getting our name out there makes it easier to talk to people about sim racing.
And given that you and the team are achieving a level of success, what's your ambition for the team in the future?
I think it's changed. I think when I started, we wanted to be one of the best in the world. With the sort of way that racing is, and it evolves, and there's always new people coming through, you kind of get to a level that you're happy with. We've got great drivers. The focus of the team now, I feel, is moving more away from the racing, but more the sort of development of the team and the people. I think, again, it comes back to sort of why we started. In my head, there's a lot more mentally that goes on with people than I think anybody cares to realise, whether you come out and say it, whether you bottle it up. I bottled it up for years, only because being like an only child, I didn't want to put pressure on anybody else. I was probably not my normal self, but I was to myself, if that makes sense. And everybody else around me, I'm known for being the happy, smiley kid. I will always be the happy, smiley kid. But yeah, it's kind of shifted now a bit. And I think bringing people's mental health into a race team and giving them inspirational people to listen to, we only have to inspire one person to be better or to want to go out and be better, and then that's job done. That's just the way I think that it's going. Whether other race teams are thinking like that, I'm not sure, but that's the way I think that Altitude's heading.
Well, it sounds very similar to, let's call it real world racing, where it isn't just the physical aspect of driving the car. People have got to have their head in the right place and also be developing as people to really get the best from themselves. Sounds like you're taking that approach similarly with this sim racing too.
Yeah, exactly. When you get in a real race car, your head needs to be on racing and nothing else. And it's the same for our guys. It's got to be. I've been in that position, so I now want to help however I can.
It's wonderful that you've got that mindset for how you're approaching the team, Mark. I want to just turn our attention then to real world racing, because you also mechanic for a team who have a car. So how do you find that difference then, given that you spend so much time in the virtual world? What's it like then when you actually get down to a race circuit and have to
see real people,
work on real people on a real car?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I've been in Sports 2000 for a number of years. It was, again, a family-run team. Myself, Mum and Dad used to run a Sports 2000 team. Obviously, I think when Dad and Mum retired, Dad wanted something to do. He's a very good gardener. He's a very good painter. And luckily, we live across the road from a Sports 2000 racer. Dad's like me, he'll talk to anybody, he'll find out what's going on. And he met up with Peter Needham, who races in the Pinto class. And next thing you know, Dad comes back saying, "Hey, Mark, do you fancy running a couple of cars?" "Yeah, Dad, of course we can. Yeah, let's have a go at it." So we bought all the stuff. We used to run 2 Pintos, Colin and Mira Fairbairn. We ran them successfully for a couple of years. Mira won her historic class a couple of years after we started. My dad's a fantastic mechanic. It was maintained and cleaned to within an inch of its life. We had a lorry, we had trailers. It was a real family affair. And then in our last year, we brought on Eugenio, another Pinto racer, which means we then had a lorry and a trailer. And then when Mum passed away, we kind of disbanded the team for obvious reasons, because she knew everything. There's not anything that woman did not know, whether it was admin, HR between me and Dad, or just the general planning of race meetings, making sure that me and Dad would eat at the racetracks, making sure that we'd have somewhere to sleep. There's photos that I've still got on my phone of Mum cooking Dad's ready meals in a microwave in the back of an eco trailer. It was really good. So obviously after all that ended, me and Dad kind of drifted away from the Sports 2000 sort of paddock, because obviously we were both grieving over what had happened. And again, Peter Needham came out and said, John, I've got somebody else who wants running. Do you fancy coming back into the Sports 2000 paddock? Dad trots with his van. And he's now running a man called David Gorst, who is new to racing. He'd never stepped foot in a race car before. And again, Dad helps transport the car to the race meetings, does all the race prep and stuff on the car, and just kind of helps him through his journey into racing, which he'd never been in before. In between all that, us youngsters, as we get called, collected together, and I became really good friends with Josh Law. I remember the first time that I'd met Ian and Pete, one of the other mechanics, and obviously the boys, were at Alton Park, and Pete was actually racing an MX-5 in a different race series, but at Alton as well. And I'd seen this MX-5 come flying through the first corner, sideways and everything. And I was like, he's an absolute madman. So I went over to Josh and said, Josh, did you see that madman come through the first corner at Alton Park as this MX-5 pulls up and Pete jumps out? And I was like, it was you. So we got talking, and it ended up, I don't know how, I just became part of the Law family, we'll call them. The team's fantastic. They're like a second family to me. We go to the races together. Ian is famous for his barbecues. There is not a better barbecuer in the country than Ian Law. Me and Josh have become really, really good friends.
What I'm taking away from what you're saying, Mark, in our conversation so far, is this common theme that keeps running through having a sense of family and a sense of purpose, and your pragmatism, your willingness to roll up your sleeves and get stuff done, seems to me to be really a common thread between what you're doing in the virtual world and what you're doing in the racetrack, in the real world. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. We're very close as a family, and so are the Laws. That they're a massive team, and so are the Gorse with all the, they're all a family. And I think that's what the Sports 2000 tries to bring into racing. It's a club sort of series, but you see the families there. It's not just a day out for lads and dads.
And for the listener who is not aware, then the co-founder of this podcast, Clive Steeper, is also a driver in the Sports 2000 community. And there's a podcast that I also host for Sports 2000. So I recommend you go on and listen to those episodes, and you'll find out more about some of those people that we've been hearing Mark speak about in the Sports 2000 community. So Mark, I know you do a lot of running and you play golf. How do you enjoy those things? How do they help you, if at all, in the sim racing and the real world racing world?
Yeah, running has always been a passion of mine. I do a sort of a couple of half marathons a year, not to an amazing level, but I get round. I enjoy being able to zone out and just think about life. It's nice to be able to get out to enjoy new cities. I've done the Belfast half marathon. I'd never been to Belfast before, so in my brain went run round it. It's like a red top bus tour, isn't it? But on my feet. It's exploring new places like that. Golf's a new hobby to me. Again, it all comes back to, like you say, family. I played golf maybe once or twice a year till COVID, when the only thing you could do was play golf. And then evidently I bought all the best clubs that I could buy, and now I realise that doesn't really matter. It's the squidgy bit in the middle that's hitting it, which is the problem. I was on the golf course when Dad phoned me and told me that Mum had passed. Well, now I can't stop. There's no physical way that I can stop playing golf. Granted, I've never been back to the course where it happened, and I can tell you exactly where it was. In my head now, I associate that sport with Mum, and I play in a fantastic society. The society is called Nice and Slicey, which is a standard thing that happens to any golfer. But there's 40 of us-ish that all went to school together, and we've all just kind of found the love of golf, and James, the founder and owner of the society, puts in a huge amount of effort. But again, it's just seeing everybody. It's the family. It's the connection to play around the golf and just spoil a good walk, as a lot of people say.
So finally, Mark, if you were offering some tips of advice to any listener that's intrigued by what you're saying, maybe hasn't come across sim racing before, what would you do to encourage them to learn more about it or to experiment?
I think there's a lot of places now, a lot of pop-up places that are sort of coming up. It's always fun having a go at these things. It's definitely becoming now more of a mainstream sport. I think there's so many different avenues that you can go down in sim racing. You don't have to be a driver. The love for cars will get you there, obviously. I'm due to speak to a training college soon about the other people that make up a sim teams. You can be involved in a sim team by taking photographs of the cars. Obviously, the painting all done on Photoshop. Obviously, there's Photoshop people out there that they don't even know that that's what we do. There's a lot of different ways to get into it. just go down and buy a little cheap set from Curry's. Don't waste thousands of pounds, because we all do that and go, oh, I'll probably just sell it now. But yeah, I think it's definitely something that people need to try at least once, because it's good fun. I love it. I'd be lost without it, and I'd definitely be lost without the team.
You've really given us a good sense of how important it is to your life and the passion that you've got that you are sharing with the team around you. I really wish you and the team well, and you've also left me with a sense that there is space in this sport for people from all different walks of life. You mentioned a maths teacher earlier doing calculations for you in terms of your fuel. So no matter whether anybody wants to be a physical driver, seems like there's a space that they could get involved. So if they do want to find out more about you and Altitude Esports and what you do, how might they be able to do that on the internet?
So we've got a Facebook page. That's our biggest platform. So if you just Google Altitude Esports, we should probably come up. I hope we come up by now. Twitch is another big one if you want to watch our guys. We stream every Monday night at 8 o'clock, especially now that the World Championships is happening. Or even just, not just Altitude, but even iRacing in general. If you put into YouTube iRacing, there's always something going on. There's always some broadcasts. Some real life commentators are now commenting in sim racing, so it's fantastic.
And I know that just recently Max Verstappen from Formula One fame was given a bit of a telling off because he'd been staying up late in the night doing some sim racing.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
So no matter where you are in a level of sport, we can get hooked into something like that that's really interesting.
Exactly. And that kind of brings it down to everybody, that you can be racing the best in the world from your living room.
Sounds so exciting. Good luck with it all, Mark. Good luck with the team, and it's been lovely to speak to you today.
Thanks, Sue.
Well, I hope you learned something new from Mark about esports. And continuing with that sporting theme, I recommend you also listen to episode 68, where Katrina Jennings, an Olympic athlete and endurance runner, describes the preparation, training and mindset required to perform at the highest level of athletics. We now have more than 130 episodes ranging from business and sports to the arts and social change. Just hop on over to Access to Inspiration to discover them all. Next week, my guest is Agnes Spona, who's passionate about transforming education and learning. I hope you can join us then.